All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we are going to look at some footage that recently has been released. A lot of people have been trying to keep this on the down low with the spears. Yeah, there's numerous that we have in possession. Well, another country does. I've looked at it. It's legit. Um, it's left at the atmosphere a couple times, and I believe the marks on it are from re-entry uh, back into our atmosphere. So what is it? I don't know. It's definitely from space because uh, it's got pits on it that would only come from outer space. And yes, it's left our atmosphere and it's come back into our atmosphere numerous times. I think about 3 or 4 times. And a lot of them think, well, it has something to do with Tesla. Tesla was working on stuff like this. Yeah, that's true. But the writing on it and the inscription and everything reminds me of the ancestor Egyptians, right? That we seen. They did a lot of experiments themselves, the Egyptians, and Nikolai Tesla did a lot of experimenting with electricity and gravity, magnetic force, and stuff like that. Tesla was into that big, that stuff and electricity and everything. And what they think is in the middle of it is a conductor, right? Like a power plant, similar to what Tesla was working on. Which Tesla was a believer that we can create our own magnetic force, like we already have from the core of the Earth, which the core spinning creates a magnetic force, right? All the molten lava and the rock that cools, but then you have the inner core that's continuing to spin and heat up. That creates electricity and magnetic uh, uh, energy. Okay, that's why we have a north and south, and in the north and the south, there's magnetic force that comes out of the earth, right? Almost like uh, a black hole sometimes. When it releases light out of the black hole, going both ways, right? Almost like our magnetic force that we have on Earth. So, yes, they're right about that, right? The inside of it is uh, exactly what they think it is, okay? And it's the inside of it is like a gyro. The outside skin uh, is different than the inside skin because that gyro needs to spin, like they're saying, right? It needs to move so it can change direction. And how does it change direction? It shifts the point of magnetic force, and then it propels that away. It's propulsion. That's why the thing can go up, down, sideways, move all around, because the inside of it is turning. And once it gets to a certain point where the magnetic field is, it can head that direction, right? It's basically magnetic and moves on its own. But here's the big thing is there's more to it than that. And we know this because it must have some kind of radar system on it because they would be flying right into buildings and everything else, right? They would just be flying right into everything, but they don't. So that means there's some kind of uh, uh, brain to it. Okay, and the what we think we see is copper, and I do believe it would be copper. Why? Because copper is a conductor, and it reacts. Right? It oxidizes. It reacts. It releases a chemical uh, and a gas. So what we're seeing on top of the spare is them 8 or 9 what look like smashed copper pennies or something, and that might be uh, part of it being able to create its own power. When you put two different kinds of metals together, uh, there's a reaction. So let's take a look at this thing. Uh, I looked at it before I started this live and zoomed in on it and everything, and there is pits on it that we only see when we enter space. And that's because there's space dust up there, rocks and stuff like that, little rocks that are metal. They're actually asteroids, which some of these asteroids are made of metal. So the proof is there that it has left the atmosphere a couple times, and there are some points on that sphere that are darker in color. And I do believe that's the point where that's when it re-enters our atmosphere. It heats up. And it's just like what we have. The space shuttle or a rocket or whatever, when it's re-entering our atmosphere, it starts burning up. Right? It gets real hot because it's traveling real fast and it's coming into a different atmosphere, and that creates heat. It creates heat, and that's why you've seen on like the space shuttle and rockets and stuff, where when it's coming back into our atmosphere, it starts to heat up. Now this is a different kind of alloy and metal, so it probably don't heat up enough to where you see it. It'll leave a mark, but it's not like when the space shuttle was coming back down through the atmosphere. I mean, the whole bottom of it and everything in the front of it would glow, right? It'd get real hot. So we're going to take a look at this footage. I posted the channel in my chat, and we're going to take a look at this thing. I know a lot of people are scared. I wouldn't be scared. This might be something that our ancient ancestors created, and it's been flying around for a long time. That's very possible, right? Very possible. It could have been something Tesla was working on, and you know, China, Japan, whatever. But this thing has been in the atmosphere numerous times, and you can tell because there's a couple, like 3 uh, darker colors on the metal that changed, where you could tell that's where it's heating up at. All right, I put the I put the description or put it in chat, and I'll put it in description too. All right. So here it is. Okay. And if you notice, it's got this diagram up here. Now, this could be two things. This could be planets, stars that are around it. But I noticed on this, they look copper looking, copper color looking. Maybe gold. It could be gold, but I'm not sure. But I'm just going by what I can see. Either it's copper or it's gold. Now they're saying that this on the diagram up on top, my God, it looks like a computer chip, right? The diagram is a computer chip. Uh, I'm not sure. We've also seen this. I do believe in Egyptian stuff and the Mayan Indians and the Aztec Indians and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. Let's listen to a little bit of this.
The university is doing some polishing there because it's going to be very important for determining several aspects that we'll soon have answers to. All kinds of analyses have been done and everything openly. So far in the research, it has not been possible to identify what it is made of. There isn't something like this on Earth. At least that's what the analyses
Okay, so what do we got here? Let me keep
at the
going.
university revealed. No.
All right. Now, what I want to try and do is zoom in. I don't know if I can. Okay. So we know this much. It's possible this was made on Earth. Ancestors, very well possible. And what am I seeing? It's well, I'm seeing if you notice these little pits, these little pin marks all over it. These little pits all over it. Okay, we see this on uh, uh, like ships that re-enter our atmosphere, rockets, the space shuttle. You would see stuff like that. That's because if there's space dust up there, rocks, whatever, like metal, right? Like asteroids and stuff, but solid, right? It's a metal, and it's going through space, and it's making contact with this metal through space, right? So it's definitely been in and out of our atmosphere. My only concern is if you notice these holes, a couple of them are not in line, and that's suspicious to me because if this was a really advanced machine, it would be it would be to the dot, to the centimeter. Everything would line up, right? Now, like I said, this could have been created from our ancestors, and it's been up there flying around. It's got its own power, right? So it's very well possible. But like I said, you're not going to see this on metal. Okay. You see these little black marks, and there's like a scrape, a dot, and then a scrape. a dot, and then a scrape. We only see that in equipment that we put up in space, right? It's re-entering the atmosphere. It's flying around up in space. There's space dust, which is just exploded planets and whatever metal asteroids, right? That's what an asteroid is. A lot of them are metal, right? Most of them are rocks, but most of there's a lot we get that are pure metal. And when the great explosion created, right, in space, it blew that it was so hot, it turned the rock into metal. And that's what we see out there, space dust and everything. It's just metal. It's just rock that was heated at such high temperatures from the great explosion, it turned into metal. And this is what we see when we send things up into the atmosphere and they come back down into re-entry and flying around up in space. We see these marks on the equipment that we send out. Let's watch a little bit more of this. Debbie says, is it a colander for a grill? No, little lady. No, we wish it was that simple.
And well, all these holes are mysteries, right? One of the concerns is that they are not symmetrical. Sometimes
That's what
Yeah,
was
it does
trying
look like
to say.
manual labor rather than technology work, doesn't it?
we consider it manual work. Now you tell me what the civilization.
That's now see this, Debbie. You see all these little black dots. You see that, and then you see the scrape by them. You see a dot and then a scrape, a dot and then a scrape, a dot and then a scrape. That's from being in space, right? That's you're only going to see that in space. Okay, it's hitting metal, which is space dust or whatever, and it hits it and uh, reflects off of it and leaves a scratch on it or whatever. So that's common. Yeah, I could say I would pretty much say yeah, it's left our atmosphere and came back into our atmosphere. It's been in space. Okay, so let's continue to watch a little bit more of this. And I agree with them 100%. It's a uh, and this is something Tesla that might have discovered. It's possible Tesla was a lot of people think Tesla was uh, visited by aliens. That's where he got his technology, and they might very well be true. But I agree with the guy. It's not perfectly. We would think a higher intelligence, all the holes on it and everything would be to the T exact. Each uh, one would be the same size, and they would be directly in a line perfectly, right? But we're not seeing that here.
Civilizations were like, or what the civilizations are like out there in other worlds. Or perhaps this comes from here, from the Earth, but from the past, perhaps a sphere that has been flying for a long time. It's very difficult to say what it is really about. But what I can absolutely guarantee 100% as a fact is that the videos recorded by both Mr. Jose and by Maria are completely real and authentic. Jose's video does have a modification in the audio for security reasons.
Okay, there it is.
Why? I don't know. I don't know, but I respect it, and that's what it is. That's what we have.
Okay, now did you see what that thing just did? And that's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. Is it can draw power from other things. It could draw power from your battery in your car. Very great stuff here that we're looking at. If you watch that thing, it goes across what? An electrical line.
But what I can absolutely guarantee 100% as a fact is that the videos recorded by both Mr. Jose and by Maria are completely real and authentic. Jose's video does have a modification in the audio for security reasons. Why? I don't know. I
All
don't
right.
know, but
Now watch this. This thing is going to go by these electrical power lines. It is actually going to stop and it's going to go backwards to the power line. And it very well could be it's draining energy that it needs uh, right from the telephone line. It's very well possible.
respect it, and that's what it is. That's what we have. However, the images of the sphere are authentic. So it's the only thing we would have to, that we would have to work.
The only other thing I can think of is when it gets around a power line, and they are seen a lot around power lines. Either the power line, it comes across the power line, and uh, it senses that that's sending out energy, and either this thing zooms in on it to either be recharged real fast, or the energy is actually making it, the power going through the lines is actually making it change its course when it comes up on the power line, right? Because this thing's flying along, and then all of a sudden it goes past this power line, it stops and backs up and goes right to the power line, right? And if you see the video, this one, what's behind there? A giant power line. So that's very well possible.
Worry about, right? And Maria's footage is authentic too. So if they are authentic, this sphere was flying through the air. It went down after hitting some high voltage cables.
Oh, did it touch the high voltage cables?
Yes, here it is. Let me show you. There's a small point where
The damage is visible. There is like
yes.
a dent. It can be this, or this.
No. Here.
Okay, it was a strong impact.
And from here we have tried to extract fragments, and it has not been possible. I don't know why.
Wow. Well, I can tell you this much. If that thing did hit a power line, and that's all the damage that it did, when there's tons of power going through them power lines, I'm shocked that thing didn't melt uh, at all. I'm pretty shocked. But we're going to see some more dark spots on this thing. And I think that's where it's left the atmosphere, and it's also come back into the atmosphere. Debbie says it's the George Foreman.
What is
grill.
this made of? Aluminum?
It is 72% aluminum and has 22% of silicon.
And they say that it is tougher than space grade.
Okay, so he said it's 82% aluminum and 20% silicon. So that right there might be a conductor, and it's its own power. Now this guy might be right. This thing might have been flying around in the atmosphere, or even right at the brink of our atmosphere where we wouldn't be able to see it. And it's just been floating around up there, and that explains why people, planes, when they get up so high, we've seen this spare, right? Yeah, I would believe that. It wouldn't shock me at all. But the only thing is I know it's been out of our atmosphere is because them marks are on there, and there's a couple burn patterns on the metal where it's gotten real hot from re-entry, I think. And that's what's the discoloration of the aluminum. It looks like a rainbow on the bottom of it, right? You know how you heat up a metal a lot, it changes colors, right? It changes colors to different colors, and so yeah, I would agree with the guy. It's definitely been out of our atmosphere. And it's probably re-entered. I seen 3 burn marks on it, or 2 burn marks on it. So you know it at least left the atmosphere and re-entered twice.
That was the first time, but a very strange thing happened. After it was measured 360, 323, as recorded on video, they placed some very powerful magnets
Hello, I'm back.
to see if they could move the sphere with them. And after that, it is measures that the hardness of the aluminum is 60, 70, 80 HVS, which
It's pretty dang thin. How does this thing
it
go?
is much less. And at the same time, why is it not stable? Why is that measurement not stable? We don't know. We don't know if something changed inside and made everything change. I believe that the investigations they are going to have to continue for a long time, Martine. I mean, there are really too many things we don't understand about this sphere, which is
Roku Ads Manager puts Roku's reach within your reach. Sign up at ads.roku.com.
Si te dicen que los juegos del tricolor se ven mejor con carne a la parrilla,
every time we
Okay, this is what I wanted to see. All right, let's get in on this. This is what I wanted to see. Because either that's gold or that's copper. One of the two. Okay, that we're seeing them dots on the diagram there, which are similar to a chip or even a computer board that you would solder resistors on it, transistors and stuff like that. Now the writing on it is a mixture of Egyptian, Aztec, I think, Indian maybe. There's some Egyptian in there. And it's definitely left the atmosphere and came back in because it's got all these asteroid little marks on it that we also see when the space shuttle left and came back in. You see stuff like that on the space shuttle. So if this is copper or gold, then this thing is somehow creating its own power or drawing power from literally the earth. Literally, it don't need to do anything because it just being a magnetic uh, device, electrical device inside of it, like a gyroscope that moves inside, and that would change the direction, right? One side of it, like this guy is saying, is heavier. So when the magnetic force is stronger, the top heavy part moves towards the electrical gravity, the pull of the electric, and it moves that way. So either that or this thing is actually taking energy in at this top spot, and it's somehow doing just like what the earth does, and it's taking energy in from the top of it, and what it is doing is getting its proportion. It's able to move because it's taking energy in from the top of it, and it's releasing the energy through the bottom of it, the back of it, the sides of it, wherever it it's inside of it's a gyro. It's just spinning inside. It's just the inside of it. It has an inside skin. I bet you if you tore it apart, it's got an inside skin. And this is the outer skin of it, right? The inside is a totally separate thing. And it's like a gyro. It's like a gyro, and it just moves inside. And wherever the gravity or the electrical force is more stronger, it adjusts to it and moves towards it. So it's actually using the earth to just hover. The earth is a giant magnet electric force. It pumps out energy. Okay. It pumps out energy. That's what our magnetic force is, north and south, right? The core of the earth is spinning inside. And what's that doing? It's sending a magnetic charge or energy through the north and south, just like a black hole. Just like a black hole. If you look at a black hole out there, what's it doing? It's got light beams coming out from both sides of it, right? Black, but in the center of it, on both sides, it's got light beams coming out of it. That's because it's eating everything. I don't know, you probably wouldn't understand it, but yeah, very well possibly could be, and it could have been created many, 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 many years ago, and it didn't need it. It powers itself. It feeds off electricity, off of energy, power, which is everywhere. It's in space. It's here on Earth. Uh, yeah, how it survived that long, I don't know. That thing should have dents all over it. I mean, just riddled with dents and everything from hitting birds. How does it not fly right into a wall? It's got to have some kind of system inside of it, a radar system, a gravitational system that detects it's either getting too close to the ground, or it got too close to something, or it's going to fly right into something, right? So we know it's got a brain inside of it, because these things would be running into buildings all over the place. They would be running into buildings all over the place. They would be running into jet airplanes in the sky. They would be running into everything. So we know it does have some kind of a system on it that is a radar system. Well, if you ask me, I would let Skunk Baxter look at it too. It's got to have some kind of radar system on it to guide it, or it'd be running into everything, folks. It'd crash right into the ground coming out of the atmosphere. I don't know if these folks understand that. This thing ain't coming out of the atmosphere and going straight into the ground. This thing's coming into the atmosphere, and then it's flying around in a higher elevation, and then it comes down lower. Maybe that is just a charge from the electrical telephone lines, possibly power plants, electrical power plants. Uh, Possibly, yeah, yeah. And being that it looks like either copper or gold, which is a great conductor of energy, man, that explains it. There's got to be a device inside of it that somehow this thing gets its speed out of, right? Because this thing can turn on a dime, it can stop, and it can be boom in a blink of an eye, it's gone. That might even be Japanese writing on there. Some of that might be Japanese writing. And Japanese and China, them people in ancient days, they were very smart too.
Are, well, getting closer to being able to understand it. I believe the real challenge should be to make it fly or levitate again.
That would be amazing.
The scientists actually have some ideas.
And where's the USB? What's the port to plug it in and charge it?
I wish it had one. But I'm surprised by all the negativity that has arisen from researchers who, from their homes, from their desks, know more than we do. We who are actually spending large amounts of money to analyze it, and they don't need anything. They just need to say that it is false and
Does
that,
that surprise you, considering what happened
no, it
with
doesn't
the
surprise me. I can see it. I see
with
it
the
with,
Nazca mummies? Didn't the same
That's
thing
right.
happen? And well,
That's right. And it has happened to me my whole life. Whenever you reveal something, people who contribute absolutely nothing arise from nowhere. Without contributing anything to the investigation, they question, they mock, are rude, and yeah, it's very sad.
and unfortunately, that often comes from the people who are supposedly the most smart or intelligent,
Yeah,
right? From
yeah,
the
right.
scientific field.
Well, and they come from researchers of the phenomenon. That is, the main enemies of any discovery or revelation you make are precisely the people who are involved in the mysterious phenomenon.
Why do you think? What is it? Envy? They are bought by
I
someone?
will let you decide for yourself. You can find the answer to that question because, in my opinion, we should all be united around these extraordinary discoveries. I did not make this.
Oh, I agree with this guy. I agree with this guy. Instead of building all these death machines and bombs and everything, we should be coming together and figuring out what's going on. Now, do we have capabilities of doing this on Earth and creating this? Yes. Back in the 30s or 40s, I think, or 50s or whatever, they were already experimenting with spares and energy and magnetic force with this stuff. So it very could be something like that, right? It very well could be that ancient ancestors built this thing. How did they build it? Probably because these aliens, whatever, have been coming here for forever, since the Earth, probably before people were even on Earth. So, could they have gotten their technology from that? And they built it. Like I said, the Egyptians were big into this stuff, and it's all over their walls, carved into it. China, Japan, the ancient people and everything, they were very big into it. They had rivers of mercury, right? Which there might be mercury inside of this thing that would help it sustain itself in gravity and everything. Japan, they were big into that with liquid metals and stuff like that back in the ancient days. So it's very well possible that this thing was created on Earth, but the technology is from somewhere else that came to Earth and maybe crashed. This thing might fly again. It might have just, for some reason, lost power or was deactivated. Either way, you might be able to reactivate it. You might be able to throw a charge to it and the thing fire up again. Right now, they want to try and get this thing to hover again, and it very well might possibly be, unless there is some kind of brain within the core of it, and they shut it down from wherever, whatever planet or alien race or whatever. They shut it down. Now, whether they can reactivate it or not, or maybe it just finally, after flying thousands and thousands of years, has finally ran out of energy and it just dropped out of the sky. And that's very well possible too.
Sphere. I went to the place where it fell. They granted it to me. They gave it to me to investigate, and that is what I am doing, and I am doing it openly. They don't question the investigation. They investigate whether it's the video, whether it's the company Germany, and whether it's this or that, whether it's David Velez, whether it's Jaime Maussan. I mean, I wish they would say, look, that research you did is poorly done, and it's like this because of this and this and this, and I suggest you do this. Then we would all win, but the way they do it, well, it rather reveals that they are upset
It's just noticeable. You can sense bad blood. You can sense anger. They are trying way too hard to pick a fight, right? I mean,
Yes, that
it's
it
brutal.
is the sad reality. It is what it is, but here it is. And at any moment, scientists are going to arrive. Tomorrow, more will come, and on Friday, more are going to come, and you will be able to talk to each of them freely, openly,
Just as always.
and develop your own judgment. I'm not going to tell you. Do you think this is true? Do you think this is false? You come to your own conclusions.
Let's try to be the devil's advocates, Jaime, and let's think that this might be false. Let's play this game. The problem with this object now is that it is too good to be true because there is traceability, there are many witnesses, there are high-quality video recordings, everything continuous, everything with recognizable witnesses, and all the information that has been observed. What?
Okay, this is what I wanted to see. Now, yes, I agree with them. It does look like a computer chip. Okay, but it's engraved into it. It's actually not a computer chip that we're thinking like is in a computer. It's a computer chip design, right? Like a maze, much like a Aztec Indians had on their pyramids and stuff. Very true. Very true. Now you see all the gold on it. Either that's gold or it's copper, one of the two. And that explains it. Because it helps with energy, with conduction of energy. So, yeah, well, it could be. It's a diagram of maybe a galaxy somewhere out there, a Milky Way, whatever. And that planet, that dot right in the middle, is the planet. Right now, maybe, but if you notice that one dot in the middle of all that, it ain't gold. It's just black. So another thing is it probably lost one of its conductors. And once it lost one of them conductors, whether it ran into something, whether it just broke off over thousands or millions of years, who knows how long this thing's been running, it lost its energy. It's like a circuit board. If one transistor goes down, the whole thing goes down. If one capacitor blows, the whole thing goes down. And that might very well be it. Now, they might be able to replace that and put copper in there or gold or whatever that other metal is. And that sucker might fire up if you throw a charge to it. Possibly. Either that or that one thing in the middle of this diagram that don't have a piece of copper or gold on it is where it comes from, right? This is the atmosphere or the galaxy, and its planet is right in the middle of all that stuff. Right? It could be something like that. Yeah, I'm getting it's definitely man-made from somewhere, or from another planet. Yeah, I would say it's been in space because it's got all the markings of asteroid dust and space dust and everything on it.
Could have happened for this to be a fraud?
I really don't find any reason why. I mean, money? They haven't asked me for money, and money has been offered for this sphere, both to David Velez and to me, and absolutely nothing. Fame, prestige. The people involved don't want to appear. Germany company completely cut ties with the sphere. David Velez, too. So, I mean, if it's not fame, if it's not money, so then what? And they're going to spend, the person who did this spent a significant amount of money. For what?
Yeah, if this is false, they spent a lot of money to do this.
For what? Why? For what? What? I was in
What could have happened for this to be a fraud?
I really don't find any reason why. I mean, money. They haven't asked me for money, and money has been offered for this sphere, both to David Velez and to me, and absolutely nothing. Fame, prestige. The people involved don't want to appear. Germany company completely cut ties with the sphere. David Velez too. So I mean, if it's not fame, if it's not money, so then what? And they're going to spend, the person who did this spent a significant amount of money. For what?
Yeah, if this is false, they spent a lot of money to do this.
For what? Why? For what?
Okay, let's look at this. Let's look real close at this because I'm seeing Aztec markings here. This whole maze thing, this was all, we seen this. Let me get back over here. Okay, now you can see it up close. This is that diagram in the middle of the top of it. And we see this design in Aztec Indians, Egyptians, China, Japan, stuff like that. We see these mazes and stuff. So, oh, good God Almighty! And right here is where one of them gold pieces or copper pieces should be, but it ain't. Right? It ain't. And it's possible it fell off. Now we also got an indentation here of like a half moon or something. You see that? So if this is some kind of like a computer chip or something, then it might have lost one of its conductors. And if one goes down, the whole thing goes down. Almost like a circuit board, right? If you got one thing that blows, the whole thing goes down, right? And some of and it makes sense. Maybe excuse me. Excuse me. Maybe one of these conductors fell off of it and it was still functional, but it wasn't able to maneuver like we see it. It might not have been able to get high speed, right? Light speed or whatever, or because it lost one of its conductors or something. It might have still functioned, but it lost some of its maneuverability or other things that it does that we don't know about. That's very possible. For what else could this thing be? This thing could be. I don't want to scare anybody, but this thing could be some kind of a mind altering device. Also, I know it's shocking, but it could be. When we see these things hovering over our town, this thing could be sending uh, uh, radio waves. It could drive us crazy. It could, it could make you feel different. It could, you could have deja vu where you just blank out for about 5 minutes and you're just looking and we don't know yet. We're not sure where it came from or who built it. Now, like I said, yes, we have experimented, and the evidence is out there if you do your research that we were experimenting with these spares back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and I think probably before that, scientists were monkeying with it. Tesla was also monkeying with this stuff, and other countries were, and even ancient ancestors, right? We're dabbling in stuff like this. And the writing we're seeing on it or whatever is similar. So who would spend money like this to build this thing, fly it around? It's not damaged. You think there would be dents all over it and everything. from running into stuff, animals, birds, all kinds of stuff, but there ain't. So it's got some kind of a propulsion system on it that is, it could be some kind of an engine, and them holes that are in the around the center of it, like our equator, right? What am I seeing? Well, that's what I'm seeing. Maybe a equator lined around it. And what is them holes in it? Well, them holes might be exhaust, right? That might be to cover up its heat signature. It would make sense, right? This thing is creating energy. It's creating heat. It's got to disperse that somewhere. And that's where them holes might come in as an exhaust. It's very possible. We don't know. They haven't torn into it yet, so we don't know. And watch out, because we don't know what's in it. For all we know, if it is alien, then they might have some kind of a new propulsion system and energy with inside of it. 10 times worse than nuclear. We don't know. You take the top of it off, and the next thing you know, you got leakage of something. You don't know what it is. What would I do to start? Well, I would throw some gold or copper in that hole where it looks like there should be a piece of copper like the rest of it, or gold, and see what happens. And if that don't work, throw a charge to it, to the top of that thing, on them gold marks on the top of it. Throw a charge to it, an electrical charge. It might fire back up again. But I'm going to tell you what, you're not going to be able to do this in a small room. You're going to have to do this in a airplane hangar or something. Get a hold of NASA. You're going to have to do it there, because if this thing fires up, it might have its own brain system. And this thing's just going to shoot straight up in the sky. You got to be careful here. Definitely. You got to do it somewhere big, because this thing, once you fire it up, that dang thing might take off. It might just gone. It goes. Who knows what'll happen? I'd be careful. I'm for you doing experiments on it. I don't know why they haven't paid. I don't know why we're not dumping money into this stuff instead of master disaster trap. But what the heck, go for it. Why not? Why not? Go for it.
What? What? I was in Mexico. I went there and I brought it back. No. Indeed, the time is going to demonstrate it exactly as with the tridactyl beings, as we are already very close to the end of that legal dispute. And well, here the research is going to continue. It's going to take longer than we thought, because there are many secrets that will not be easy to uncover. But we are willing to persist and invest what is necessary until we reach the final conclusion. The only thing I will not allow, my dear Martine, is for the sphere to split in two. It's what many want. Let's open it to see what's inside. No way.
Well, there
I won't
are
even
people
let them
who
remove one of these. I mean, I'm not going to remove anything. We have to do it from the outside. We have to do it with equipment. We have to do it with our intellect. But we are not going to affect the sphere in any way.
not pierce it either.
No, certainly not. We are going to see if we can make it levitate. I think that would be the greatest challenge. We'll see if we manage to do it.
Look, and I
Let's
didn't
see.
even
Let's
touch
see.
it.
Look at
Just
that.
as soon as I approached. Look,
The sphere is there. Let's see.
and it's
Step
not the
back.
first time
Move
that
a
it's
little
happened to
bit.
me.
Let's go there. Let's go there. Let's go there. Scientific material.
Well, right now I have
Let's
nothing.
see. Come on, let's go. We are getting closer. We are next to the sphere.
Very little, but I do feel it.
Okay, now he's getting goosebumps and the hair standing up. Why is he feeling it? Well, if you notice, he's got a bracelet on his one hand, a gold bracelet. And he's as he gets closer to that thing is it's making a connection and a charge. So his hair's starting to stand up and he's getting bumps on him and stuff. And that's an electricity charge. Uh, that's why when people when lightning, if you're real close to lightning and before it strikes, you'll see these photos of people their hair standing straight up. That's because there's a magnetic energy, and what it's doing is it's lifting the hair up, static electricity and everything, and then a lightning bolt comes down and hits that person, right? And that's exactly what's going on right now with this guy. Now he walked up close to it, but he also has a bracelet on, whether it's stainless steel or gold, and now it's and that device now is actually sensing that there's metal around it, and now it's sending off a charge.
There,
A
you can already see
little
it. Let's go to
bit.
the other side. Yeah, that's when the goosebumps start to appear.
But now it was less. But I feel it.
And how
Yeah,
did you
see
feel
the gold
before the
bracelet
first
he's
time
got
that
on
you?
right
Well,
here.
the first time I grabbed it, I started to tremble, and I couldn't manage to control the shaking. Look. Look also on the other side.
Unless it's because of the air conditioning, which isn't very strong either.
No, not really.
Okay.
No, but the first time I grabbed it, when I took it out of the bag, I was trembling, and I never managed to control the trembling.
When they took her to the studio, the lights began to turn on and off, right?
Yeah. The first time it entered the screen studio, the lights were flickering.
You know, there is one. Well, surely you know of a person who also had a sphere that also about 20 or 30 years
The
ago,
Bet sphere.
which also produced
Yeah, strange
things like that, right?
Yeah, what I think.
Look, I'm still right under the air, and well, it's calmed down a bit. And I still have them. I mean, I'm still here. And I didn't move.
Step into Hojo, where the whole family is welcome, where the rooms are vibrant and modern.
Stupid commercials.
When it was recorded levitating, the sphere was spinning on an axis of rotation that is exact, and it comes out aligned like that. When I saw it levitating and I was watching with Jaime, I said to him, "Hey, where on earth does this thing get the energy to fly, right?" But then my area consists of when we go to the laboratory a few days ago, although there were already some scientists here making measurements, very good measurements. Excellent, by the way. They even discovered within it that there is a composition of two very important phases. Those compositions are clearly defined and then also possess and have their own specific and distinct densities. Here they are. There are two very important things at the core. One thing is the darker brown part, and the other is the purple part. And yes, that has 3 centimeters thick, and it is aluminum because it was also classified as such. Except this, there is no classification parameter. They did not find it in their bookstores, and it is an institute that studies metallurgy. I mean, so we said, well, then what's inside? The way to test it was, this point you see here lines up with a point underneath, and if you match them, that's the axis of rotation.
Okay, whoa. Back up here. This one conductor here, this one conductor here has blue around it. Like it might have heated up and got very hot. With aluminum, if you heat aluminum up to very high temperatures, it changes colors. So this thing it's heated up massively. And maybe that is maybe that is some kind of a computer board or something, and And the one with the blue circle around it might have been overheating or something, or and it got so hot, or something changed the color of it because it's a blue, and the rest of them have nothing around it except for that one. That one has a blue ring around it. Now, either that thing was heating up for some reason, or that might be some kind of a sign of, hey, this is this is a planet in our galaxy or something, or a star or something like that. So he's saying that the energy is all coming from the center of this thing coming out. I would guess much like our Earth's uh, magnetic field. Yeah, it makes sense to me. And I'm an idiot.
Basically the exact center of the sphere. However, it would indeed turn while gyrating up perfectly. What we did was mark a point every 3 centimeters by forming an imaginary meridian because we reached the equator. And we go to the other pole, the chip, or what claims to be a chip, or what seems to be a chip because it has pins. Well, it is the zenith of the sphere. We did it in several places, and what we did was take our density gauge or calibrator with a specific measurement, and we checked. We checked the density of the metal, but we went further in and saw that there was a much lower density than what was here. And that density is very homogeneous throughout the sphere. But when we applied a strong magnet, it was no longer the same density. It was changing, and then I took the precaution of measuring a point here and moving the magnet and saw that the density was shifting. It means then that the magnetic field I am introducing is moving something in here, right on the inside.
So you burned it with X-rays?
Yes, we inspected it with X-rays, exactly.
Is that solid or
No, it's something that is, I mean, as if it were sandy, but it responds to magnetic fields. But I still had the question. How the heck is this thing? Where is the source of energy? How does that thing move? There must be an explanation. I then began to meditate, trying to come to a possible explanation of how or where it obtains its energy source. I went to see some NASA satellites. I said, how? If the panels do not draw energy from the sun, they get damaged. How do they manage to get more energy? According to what you have heard, they are extending a long metal cable. Then the cable crosses perpendicularly magnetic fields and in electromagnetism. When a field crosses a wire, an electric current is induced. It happens in the direction of the electric current and also in the reverse direction, right? Also, I have an electric current induced, I mean a cable.
Well, that explains why the thing was flying along through the air and it stopped and went back to the power cables. Right? Why? The power. It sensed the electrical energy, and it shifted it and stopped and moved back towards the electrical power lines. So somehow it was draining. It sensed that energy, and it was drawn to it to either recharge or dispersed energy. It has to release this energy somehow because it's creating energy. It's bringing in energy, and it's also pumping energy out.
A magnetic field is induced, and if that is the case, then who can help me? Well, of those who walk this world, he must be a genius, and that genius is named Nikola Tesla. So then I went with Tesla. I went to his works, and then I observed that from 1901 to 1907, Tesla built the Wardenclyffe Tower. That tower. Allow me to give you some observations that are very important. That's it. That really is a generator. It is a giant Tesla coil. But look how peculiar. Look, there's the tower. And here in the middle, a tube descends. See? That tube is inserted into the ground and connects with an underground river that he had already detected. But the river has
Current?
and evidently the tube is generating electricity with movement, more likely as if it were a generator that powers the generators here in your house, which similarly in return carry electrical charge and distribute loads throughout the dome that is here. And that dome is charged with a Van de Graaff. It is intensely charged and begins to transmit to the ionosphere, right? As if it were a transmitting antenna, but of electricity. And Nikola Tesla intended to supply electricity to villages wirelessly. But then remember that this sphere spins like this, but the internal order is like this. Look, I'll change the perspective. It is a laid down tower of Wardenclyffe.
Mhm.
I mean, in other words,
That might be plasma inside of it. Some kind of a plasma. This is interesting. What time is it? Nah, it's late, folks. I'm going to end this. We'll pick this back up. Would I like to look at that thing? Yeah. Are you going to be able to open that thing up? No, probably not. It looks like it was forged all in one thing. How did they do that? I don't know. I don't think you can get into it unless you cut it. And I don't know if you can cut it. And I don't know what's inside of it. Who knows? Now, why are people pissed? Well, because they don't have one. That's why. Why is Germany pissed? Right? Germany backed out and everything. And Germany's, they don't want, I bet you everybody's pissed. They don't have one. Eventually they will. Eventually there'll be more of these that pop up, I imagine. They're all over, flying all over. And we have them, right? This is stuff we've been working on. America's been working on for a long time, right? This is stuff they actually experimented with, right? Flying saucers with fan motors in them, jet motors in them, and stuff like that. They were literally flying saucers that they were experimenting with, right? And this could be also something that somebody was experimenting with. It could have been Tesla created it and released it into the atmosphere. And it just moves on electricity. It just hovers. Like I told you, the earth is a magnetic energy force. It creates its own energy and it pumps it out through the north and the south. It's got to relieve that energy somewhere. If it don't, it just will glow and explode. It'll just explode. And that's what I'm thinking them holes are too on the side of it. It could be either a way to disperse energy that it's creating or a way to attract it, bring it into the device that's inside of it, right? That's why it flew by that power line and then it just stopped and it backed up and went back to the power line. And that could be them holes there, or could be it just sucking energy, power in through it, right? Or dispersing the power. It's possible. But whatever that thing is inside of it, it's creating energy, and energy creates heat, and it's got to disperse that heat, or it'll send a signal off, and you'll see it once you throw an infrared camera on it. It'll send a heat signature. You'll be able to see it. It'll be glowing, but you're not seeing that. So somehow this thing, that could be an exhaust or it could be an intake. Not sure. For all we know, it could be a water intake to cool it down, and the thing plunges into the ocean, takes in water, maybe salt water, and then boom, cools off, and it takes back up. I don't know. It's got to have a brain inside of it, or the dang thing would be crashing into everything. So, yeah, they're right about that, and yeah, this is the stuff we should be spending the American people's money on, instead of war and madness and everything else. I don't know what's going to happen if you cut into it. Try and get the thing to hover. Throw it through some high power X-rays. See what's inside of it. See if you can see any wiring, anything. It's got to have a brain. If it don't have a brain, it's going to fly into everything. It'll fly into trees. It'd fly into everything. Trees don't get off energy, power. It would just be flying into things, folks. So it's got to have some kind of radar on it. And it's got to have some kind of a sensor or chip or something for this thing to be able to sense there's something in its way and it moves. So, if it didn't have a brain or any kind of a radar system on it or an electrical radar system where it can sense things 30 miles away before it flies into it when it's flying at in a blink of an eye's light speed. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty crazy. I'd like to be there checking that out, see what's going on in that baby. But like I said, if you're going to fire that thing back up, you best fire it back up in a giant uh, airplane hangar or something, or one of the NASA buildings. You fire that thing up in one of these little offices, that thing could just fire up and pew, it's gone. It's going to take back off and fly around, whatever. Who knows? Very interesting and very great that they have one. Yeah, everybody's pissed off because these people have it and no one else does. I imagine they wanted to pay big money for it. And I also imagine there's some people that really want to look at that thing and find out what makes it tick, where it come from, the descriptions and engravings on it are all on the top of it. There's none on the bottom. So the top of that thing is the energy. It's drawing its energy in through that spot, and it might be spitting it out through them holes. Like I said, it's creating its own power, and it's got to release that power somewhere, right? And it might be that way, or it might be, it might be something else. It might be a water intake. If it gets too hot, it hits the water, cools off, and then once it cools off to a certain temperature, boom, it pops back out of the water, and it's flying around. All right, ladies and gentlemen, keep going if you want. I'm going to end this because it's getting late. We'll touch base on this tomorrow a little bit more. Very interesting to me. Sure, I'd fire it up. Yeah, see what it does. See what it does. You're gonna have to put that gold piece in there. You might have to put that gold piece or copper, whatever that metal is. It looks like gold because gold is a conductor for energy, one of the best. That's why it's in all your phones and in satellites and everything else. And that explains why there would be gold there, because that's part of the connection and makes it tick. So, and the thing needs to stay upright, right? It needs to stay upright and fly upright. Now that's probably where that gyro comes in that he's talking about in the middle of it. So yeah, it makes sense to me, and I would go with it. I would definitely. The U.S. should be in on that and seeing what's going on. But like I said, we've had these things for a while. We've created ourselves in America, so this might be something that we learned from, and it re-entered the atmosphere again and crashed. And it's been flying around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Yeah. Yeah, I would believe it. Yes. And the science proves it's possible. And exactly what this gentleman is saying is true. It's a Tesla coil. It's a powerhouse. It creates its own power. If it's been flying around for thousands of years, won't you want that power supply? You bet your booty. You bet your booty. Let me see what else Deb's saying. If you want, go ahead and continue. I am going to brush my teeth. Good night. Oh, I'm sorry I'm boring you with this stuff. Good night, Debbie. Be safe. I'm going to be ending this anyways. Could you fake something like that? I don't think so. How are you going to forge the inside of this thing? There's no markings on it, he said, where it splits apart. It's all one forged piece of aluminum, right? If you're gonna get into that, you're gonna have to cut into it, or plasma cutter and cut into it with a plasma cutter. But then again, you don't know what's inside this thing. There could be plasma inside that thing that this device operates around. So I'd be very careful. But would I do it? Oh, heck yeah. I'm intrigued by this stuff. This is the stuff that I love. Yeah, I'd be right there with them. If I had the money, I'd donate to open. I'd donate to experiment with that thing and see if they can get it hovering. It also could be a giant magnet in it. Like I told you before, the Earth is a magnet, right? It creates its own magnetic force and force field and gravity and everything. It could be a giant magnet in it or something. I don't know. But I think this guy here, this guy that's talking right now, is probably on point with it. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Almost like a Tesla coil, which Tesla was working on that shit. Tesla was a smart SOB. So was Ben Frank. So was a lot of these people. Einstein. I think Einstein touched base on stuff like this. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm with this dude that's in these guys that have this spare. See if you can get that little sucker flying around. First, get the best X-ray equipment you can get and X-ray the crap out of it. Make sure there ain't no wires in it. Make sure there ain't nothing. You don't want to cut into it, and the next thing you know, boom, you don't know, because we don't know what what's inside of this thing that's keeping it cool, keeping it powered. Yeah, it could be where we got nuclear power from. Is this thing? We cut into it and it boom, it explodes. That's possible. How big is the explosion? I don't know. For all we know, it's a small atom splitter inside of it, and it's splitting atoms. It's them little holes that are around the center of it, like the equator, are holes to bring in atoms, and the device inside of it is splitting atoms and creating its own energy. Very well possible. I don't know. We'll check it out again tomorrow. God bless y'all. Have a great night. Am I scared? No, not at all. If they wanted us dead, we would have been dead a long time ago, folks. If these aliens wanted us completely wiped off the earth, they would have done that a long, long time ago. And like I said, I'm starting to think maybe it's our ancestors. Them suckers, I don't know how. I have no idea how, but they were very intelligent back then. A lot of people were like, yeah. These dudes were intelligent. You understand? China and Japan were very intelligent. Russia, very intelligent back in the ancient days. Egyptians, these people had lakes of mercury. Do you understand, folks? Literally mercury in their tombs, giant lakes of it, and it would flow and everything. Like, it was incredible. These people were very smart. Very, very smart. Now, you folks have a great night. Yeah, that's the thing from Phantasm, the movie. Yeah, that's the thing that's flying around all over Valdez. Pinhead or whatever. Was it? What was that? Yeah, Phantasm. Wasn't that with the 69 CUDA? Was this 69 or 67 CUDA or something? A black CUDA? Plymouth black CUDA. I think that Phantasm had a car and a couple real nice cars. I don't know. Somebody's sending me death magic or something, or witchery or sorcery. But return to sender in Jesus' name, amen, Lord, because I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do their witchery. So, Lord, if you can handle this situation with these demonic people, I appreciate it in Jesus' name, amen. All right, we got bigger fish to fry here. Am I worried about all this other stuff? Not really. I'd rather devote my time into figuring out how we get that thing running again. And I imagine you're going to have to hit it with a high power of some electricity to kick it in and recharge it. Once you replace that gold conductor on top of it that's missing, fill it in with some gold, see what we get. Hit it with some energy, with some electric power, and stand back and let's see what the baby does. Let's see what she does. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Celt. I hope everything's going good, but we got bigger fish to fry on. We're pulling out of the war and pulling everything out, and we're going to devote our time into this. And this is the future. You people want to go play with stuff and whatever, go ahead. We're going forward into the future, and we're going to start dumping money into these. Now, you folks have a great night. Be safe. God bless you all. All glory goes to God, King of Kings, the creator of everything. For all we know, Jesus created that thing. It's been flying all around. God created it. It could be. I don't know. The creator is incredible. Right? God is incredible. He could do anything. He might have built it himself. Excuse me. The King of Kings might have built it himself. And what a builder he was. Or is. If someone built it, they spent a lot of money, and that still don't explain how this thing is levitating and flying, right? It's just levitating and flying around without any jet propulsion, without any heat sensor, without any heat signature. These people got this thing to just hover. And it could be very, very simple. What we think is impossible is actually the answer is right in front of our face. Why? Because this whole world, the galaxy, everything, it is energy. Even space, where you're looking, there's nothing out there. There's energy out there. Where from? The sun. And before the sun, just energy out there, right? It's just a powerhouse in space. Planets spinning around, creating energy and everything, and black holes spinning around, sucking everything out, pumping out, blowing stuff up, sucking everything out. For all we know, it came from a black hole. I'm not going to lie. It could have come out of a black hole from another dimension. We have no idea. But our whole world is probably going to revolve around this technology. right? I mean, this thing has left the atmosphere. It's got a burn hole on the bottom of it where the aluminum has changed color. And the only way to do that is at very high extreme temperatures. And the thing not melt, right? And it not melt. So yeah, it's been out, and like I said, it's riddled and pitted with space debris, which is metal. It's just an asteroid. Got so hot it turned the rock into metal. That exploded, and then you just got dust particles out there and metal chips flying all over in space. And we've seen this with vehicles that have re-entered the atmosphere, and they have them kind of marks on them. So it's definitely been out of the atmosphere and come back in. And that in itself is incredible. Now, you folks have a great night. God bless. I want to thank you again, Kelt and Debbie and Valdez and the three amigos, the three musketeers, for stopping in tonight. God bless you all. We're going forward. You can stay with your old ass bombs and pews and all that. We're going forward into the future. I'm here by myself. What do you mean you're by yourself? Oh, you're all, where you at? What happened? It's a mystery. Once you go too far out or too far in, that mystery is what some call God. Yeah, and God might have created that. We don't know. The devil might have created it. We're not sure. You're right, Kel. Happy 4th of July. Is it? Oh, it's 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, Debbie, Kel, Valdez, everyone. God bless America. Please be safe. Uh, Stay home at night. If you go out, keep aware of your surroundings and just be safe, right? Just be safe. We love you all. You're all great people. God bless. Hope to spend some time with you all on the 4th. Oh, we'll probably be here later well, tonight or whatever. Maybe we'll have some fireworks tonight on the 4th, and we'll be able to see them outside the window or whatever. Now, I want you to have a good night, Kelt, and get some good sleep. Debbie, Valdez, have a great night. God bless. And we might do another video on the second half of the spare. God bless and talk to you later.